So childbirth for me, I heard all these negative stories. And what surprised me the most is that you have agency in your birth. Like, you know your body better than anybody else. You've lived in it for however many years. You've got agency. You just have to make sure you, like, exert that, or what's the word I'm looking for?
I think exert's beautiful.
Oh, well, you have to let somebody know what you want. So, like, for me, I didn't want an unplanned birth. I wanted to control as much as I could. And, okay, yes, nothing's controllable. Like, at the end of the day, things happen.
It was, to be fair.
But I put measures in place that made me feel more confident, more comfortable, and it really put my mind at ease. So I think there's just so much negative talk, and yes, things can go wrong that are out of your control, but you do have a certain amount of agency, and you can exercise that if you need to.
And I would echo that same sentiment. I guess what was surprising about birth for me, you sort of don't know if you can do it before you've done it. And then you look back and it doesn't matter how you do it, you did it. And that's a pretty amazing thing, and maybe like the first lesson of motherhood. It's like, you just look at that thing you just did, that's amazing. Mine came a bit by surprise because my son came early, and I've had 2 pretty quick, pretty intense births. And as much as I think that the medicalised birth that person wants is great too, I definitely am proud of that. I don't know, which is tricky because I'm also really proud of Loz's births. She planned more and she was really happy and she had a really positive birth. Yeah. And they were great. So I think I'm proud of both of us for just doing what felt right for us.
Yes.
And being really comfortable about that. So there's a lot of people that can be really toxic in the way of you have to do it naturally. And there can be people that are really toxic in the way of why wouldn't you use modern medicine? And I'm really proud that we have had total opposite births and total different plans going into birth, and that we can both sit here and be like, that's amazing what you did and that's amazing what I did. And I don't know if that really answered your question, but that's what's coming to mind right now.
Yeah. Well, I think feminism is not judging the way other women do it.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like stay-at-home mum versus full-time working mum. It's like another version of that conversation.
I also think the outcome is the same, right? Like, everyone wants the same outcome.
Yes.
Everyone wants a healthy baby, and everybody is doing and everybody is doing their best to provide that. Like, no one is going into it being like, I'm stuck on this route and I don't care if my baby doesn't come out right. No. You're going to do what
ever didn't come
exactly.
out. Exactly.
You're going to do what's required.
Yeah.
But the negativity and the like terrifying stories around it, sometimes I wonder, where are the positive ones? Like, who had a great experience? Like, I want to learn from them.
I have a few friends who had really good experiences and they shared it with me, and I felt relieved by that.
Yes, absolutely.
One of my friends was like, she just had her third under 3.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So she obviously, something's gone right.
Yeah.
But she said to me, I love giving birth.
I love giving birth.
And you have to surround yourself with that, because it's all well and good to be informed of what can happen and what decisions you might need to make if things aren't progressing in the way that you hoped.
Yeah.
But besides that, you need to just not even think about the negatives. You need to go in there in your power, because it's one of the most vulnerable things you'll ever do, but it's also one of the most powerful things you'll ever do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I think what you said about agency caught my attention.
Yeah.
Because I watched this documentary, I think it's called Birth Time.
Yes, I've never watched that.
It's very good.
Yeah.
And the main takeaway from that was the women who had post-birth trauma, the women who felt that their agency was taken away.
Yes.
It didn't actually matter how it unfolded.
Yes.
If it was C-section, forceps, whatever. Yeah. As long as they felt they had agency, they felt they could digest what had happened.
Yes.
More than the women who felt that they weren't communicated with properly or given
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
their voice.
We actually shared my birth story on Ready or Not, and Loz interviewed me for that. And my son came 4 weeks early, so I always had in the back of my head that Posey might come early. So first came early, but then second started to look like she was coming early. I went into this labour. I had some sort of bacteria in my vagina. It's a long story, but basically I started having contractions, and then when I was in there, it started to look like things were really happening. So they got me into a birth suite, and her heart rate started dropping, which, by the way, is very common, and it sounds really scary, but can be a very common thing. In that moment, at 35 weeks and 3 days, they wanted to break my waters, and in that moment I was like, wait, everything's okay though, right? Because they're like, her heart rate's dropped, we just need to get her out. And I said, no, You're not getting her out like that. I exercise my agency, which also comes from hindsight, I think. And we spoke about this and how important it is, because then she got to 37 and 6, was healthy and came out just the way she was meant to.
Yeah.
So it's really important because otherwise you feel like someone's doing something to you,
And
which is
also-
not how you want to enter motherhood.
And I also think it's important for your partner or whoever that support person is to know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because in moments where you're like really deep within yourself, working to get that baby out, you might not have the mental capacity to be like, this is what I want or this is what I need now. But if you've already, like you just need like a little signal to each other to be like, I need help in this area. We've discussed it.
Yeah.
It's your time to like shine.
It's their time for agency.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that also makes them feel more involved, I think.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
For sure, exactly. You
I
never
still
know.
like to watch my partner give birth. I'm disappointed that I'll never be able to, because I'd like to understand what it feels like to be the other person.
I think from what I've noticed, I've gone down a deep rabbit hole of watching birth.
Yes.
Like documentaries and like One Born Every Minute and all that stuff.
Yes.
Obsessed. And what I've noticed is the women come out of it more shocked. Just a bit like,
What just happened?
yeah, and the men are the partners are the ones crying. Because they've seen it all without the heightened
Yeah.
Yeah.
hormone
Yeah.